While Jewish communities in Islamic countries fared better overall than those in Europe, Jews were no strangers to persecution and humiliation while living under Arab rule. As Princeton University historian Bernard Lewis has written, "The golden age of equal rights was a myth, and belief in it was a result more than a cause of Jewish sympathy for Islam." When the Jews living in Medina refused to recognize Muhammad, the founder of Islam, as their prophet, two of the major Jewish tribes were expelled. In 627, Muhammad's followers killed between 600 and 900 of the men and enslaved the surviving Jewish women and children. Anti-Jewish sentiment is written into the Quran, the holy book of the Islamic faith. They were consigned to humiliation and wretchedness. They brought the wrath of God upon themselves, and this because they used to deny God's signs and kill His prophets unjustly, and because they disobeyed and were transgressors. Surah 261. According to the Quran, the Jews try to introduce corruption, 564, have always been disobedient, 578, and are enemies of Allah, the Prophet, and the angels, 297-98. An infamous euphemism directed at the Jews, that they are the sons of apes and pigs, has its basis in 3 Quranic verses. Medieval blood libels, accusations that Jews kidnap and murder non-Jewish children, were not uncommon in the Muslim world as they were in Europe. Notable examples took place in 1840 in Damascus and in 1910 in Iran. As recently as May 2013, an Egyptian politician publicly stated that Jews use blood to cook Passover matzahs. Jews were generally viewed with contempt by their Muslim neighbors. Peaceful coexistence between the two groups involved the subordination and degradation of the Jews. In the 9th century, Baghdad's Caliph al-Muqtawakil designated a yellow badge for Jews, setting a precedent that would be followed centuries later in Nazi Germany. At various times, Jews in Muslim lands lived in relative peace and thrived culturally and economically. The position of the Jews was never secure, however, and changes in the political or social climate would often lead to persecution, violence, and death. When Jews were perceived as having achieved too comfortable a position, anti-Semitism would surface, often with devastating results. On December 30, 1066, Joseph Hanagid, the Jewish vizier of Granada, Spain, was crucified by an Arab mob that proceeded to raze the Jewish quarter of the city and slaughter its 5,000 inhabitants. The riot was incited by Muslim preachers who had angrily objected to what they saw as inordinate Jewish political power. Similarly, in 1465, Arab mobs in Fez slaughtered thousands of Jews, leaving only 11 alive, after a Jewish deputy vizier treated a Muslim woman in an offensive manner. The killings touched off a wave of similar massacres throughout Morocco. Mass murders of Jews in Arab lands also took place in Iraq, Yemen, Egypt, and Syria. Throughout the Arab world, there were many cases of synagogue destruction and, despite the Quran's prohibition, forcible conversion to Islam. The situation of Jews in Arab lands reached a low point in the 19th century. Jews in most of North Africa, including Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, and Morocco, were forced to live in ghettos. In Morocco, which contained the largest Jewish community in the Islamic diaspora, Jews were made to walk barefoot or wear shoes of straw when outside the ghetto. Even Muslim children participated in the degradation of Jews by throwing stones at them or harassing them in other ways. The frequency of anti-Jewish violence increased, and many Jews were executed on charges of apostasy. Ritual murder accusations against the Jews became commonplace in the Ottoman Empire. The danger for Jews increased as a showdown over the partition of Palestine approached in the UN. The Syrian delegate Faris al-Khoury warned, "Unless the Palestine problem is settled, we shall have difficulty in protecting and safeguarding the Jews in the Arab world." More than 1,000 Jews were killed in anti-Jewish rioting during the 1940s in Iraq, Libya, Egypt, Syria, and Yemen. This helped trigger the mass exodus of hundreds of thousands of Jews from the Arab countries. Today, Jewish communities that in some cases date back millennia have all but disappeared from the Muslim nations of the Middle East. Those Jews who remain in countries such as Iran live in fear of being accused of being Zionist agents. Some countries, such as Saudi Arabia, do not even allow Jews to live within their borders. It is clear that despite claims to the contrary, any tolerance of Jews in the Muslim world has been the exception, not the rule.